especially when it comes to your magical supplies. So if you're looking for grimoires, decks, jewelry, candles, or herbs that are locally sourced, then come on down to Magus Books and Herbs. Curated for your ritual, ceremonial, spiritual, and spellwork needs, we've got all the tools to make your working extra. So make that prosperity ritual one that keeps on giving by visiting us at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis, or visit us online at magusbooks.com.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 72, then hot sunshine Wednesday with a high of 90. For more than 40 years, the Great Wall Restaurant has been serving up Szechuan and Mandarin favorites. The Great Wall is located just north of 50th in France on the Minneapolis-Edina City line. Check them out at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Tuesday evening. During the credits, I was actually kind of laughing myself a little bit. I had to run home really quick to do the show. And it's, that sometimes happens. And you get a little worried when you get close because you don't want to miss anything. I have a guest here. We're going to be talking. But where I came from, that I had to move so quickly to get home, was from the station. I was at the station all day. And it's just funny because Michael, who's going to be joining me here in a second, we were just talking about how I'm doing the show from home now, and that I had to leave the station where the show is being broadcast from quickly to make sure I got the 30-minute trip back home. So I made it in time to do my show that is on the station that I just left from. I don't know. I find that very funny. And luckily nothing happened. Now tonight's a very interesting one. What I wanted to do for a while, and I'm glad that my guest Michael is going to be doing this with me. So tonight we are going to have on Michael J. Worden, and Michael is no stranger to GhostBox Radio. Michael is a retired law enforcement officer and researcher, and an award-winning author of historical true crimes. He's been on the show a couple times talking about these books. He did Lynched by a Mob, the 1892 lynching, Robert Lewis and Port Jervis. We had some great conversations. Also, that Michael has been on some television programs. He's been a commentator on Mystery at the Museum, and also in season 1 and 2 of Hotel Paranormal, hosted by Dan Aykroyd. And what I wanted to do tonight was talk about what it is like to work on a paranormal show. And we're kind of do it two ways here. First of all, we're going to be talking about the type of program that Michael had been on, and it's a little bit different than, say, like a Ghost Adventures or something like that. It wasn't necessarily going and doing any sort of investigation himself or a team. It's more of talking about locations and commenting on them. But tomorrow I'm going to have on Brandon Alvis from Haunted Discoveries. It's a different type of program. So we're going to really have a kind of an interesting talk about it. And one of the things that I'm really, really want to kind of get into a little bit is, which I think Michael will be more than appropriate to talk to about this, is being careful about taking something. If you want to be on a television show, and a lot of people in the paranormal, they think that fans, they think that's the pinnacle about being a paranormal investigator. The pinnacle of people appreciating the work that they do is getting on a TV show. There's pitfalls. There's also a lot of great things about it as well. Someday I will sit and I will talk about my experiences. I was very, very, very close to getting a television show on the Travel Channel, and it didn't happen. And I think that was for the better, to be perfectly honest. Not a lot of people would agree with me on that. And this isn't my show tonight. So at some point I will, if you're interested, I will talk about it on another show down the line. But I am really excited to be talking about Michael's experience. So Michael J. Worden, welcome to GhostBox Radio. How are you tonight?
Greg, I'm great, and I really appreciate you having me on again. I feel like if we lived any closer together, we would be in trouble a lot. We'd be carrying paranormal mayhem everywhere.
I think you're right. I also wondered if you thought that you're actually going to get on the show tonight with my very long introduction as well. I saw your mute button go on and off and on and off. Like, oh, is it not? Nope, not yet. Oh, nope, not
that
yet.
was me just coughing and sniffling from allergies.
So first of all, I want to say, I don't think we've ever really talked about it. I've had a lot of people who've listened to this show. They have bought your books and they love them. And I just want to make sure that you get that feedback that there's been a lot of people who've been very excited about the stuff that you've written. So it's really cool, and it's your books are so good. So I just wanted to pass that along to start.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And what we never talk about is the fact that you've been on a couple television series. And, so you're kind of a Renaissance man, quite frankly. You've kind of do a little bit of everything. And that's pretty exciting. Why don't we just start from the beginning with you, Michael? How did you even get into the situation where you could be on TV?
So I guess I'd have to go back to early 2001 when
I think you do. Yeah.
Yeah. When I started, I've always been obsessed with the paranormal my whole life. I was that kid. And I'm sure you were too. We were probably the same kids taking the same books out of the library every time.
Much so. Yeah.
And, when I started investigating with my good friend and partner, Linda Zimmerman, it was in the early 2000s. It was still seen as something of people look down on paranormal investigating. It was pre-Ghost Hunters before it became cool.
Yeah.
So really, we just focused on, number one, we worked well together, but ultimately we both valued above everything else, credibility and integrity, because that's everything in the field, in my opinion.
Yes.
Being honest, being credible, having integrity to, if something's not paranormal, it's not paranormal. Not faking things, not exaggerating things, to investigate. If it's an urban legend, we investigate, and we dig into history. And really, I think it set us apart as a unique team, especially once Ghost Hunters came out and everybody was in a paranormal group. And everybody had matching shirts and jackets and hats. And here's Linda and I, and we used to joke that, I was like I would call myself the Grand Poobah of the paranormal, and she had a nickname. And instead of tech directors and lead investigators, that's how come we kind of joked about it.
I got a question, because maybe you can answer. I've been wondering this for years, decades almost. Why does everybody have to look like they're badass when they're trying to be paranormal investigators? Like they'll take the pictures, and they'll all be like, this, and they'll show their muscles. Therefore, I could never do a picture like that. But you know what I mean? It's like that. It's that whole thing on top of that, and I think. And it's actually more of a rhetorical, fun question. Actually, I don't expect an answer, but I feel like that plays into the overall picture of paranormal on TV, quite frankly.
No, I agree with you. I've always thought that too. Like, what's up with that? Like, if you've ever been on a real serious paranormal investigation, normally we show up wearing, whatever clothes we're wearing, dark clothes I tend to wear, with gear hanging all over you, my hair a mess, You know, it's 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. You're digging for batteries and flashlights. And, you know, no, I've never stood and gone,
Right. I
let me get
haven't
that
either.
ghost. I haven't done that as a cop staring at some bad guys. I'm going to get you. Like, yeah. But again, it plays into this culture that's been created, I'd say, especially since the internet and YouTube and Facebook groups came out. Probably the death knell of paranormal investigation, I call them.
Well, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's just it. So here you are. You're kind of doing your own thing, and you're setting up your standards, doing the paranormal with your partner. The shows come along a little bit, and even though like something like Ghost Hunters is a very reputable group of people, very reputable program, it's still taking things probably in a different direction than what you're doing. Other programs have come out around that time, one other in particular that really takes everything off the charts in terms of how people perceive paranormal. I mean, it just blows it open with Ghost Adventures. Your mileage may vary on what you all think about that. No judgment for those who think it's a great program, but as far as being a paranormal investigator, that it's a very troublesome situation, really.
It is, because like in that example, and I'll call out the name Zach Baggins.
Don't say it 3 times though. No,
I know people love him.
Yeah,
they think, you know, this guy could walk on water, and the rest of us in the field cringe.
Yeah,
absolutely cringe.
Yeah,
at the stuff he does. He's a complete showman.
Yeah,
you know, he's and listen, he's made a career of it and a lot of money off of it, and God bless him. And people on the internet will often, if I'm in a paranormal group and you're commenting on some non-paranormal photos, they're always like, oh, you know, or you comment on Zach, you're just jealous, you're not Zach. I'm like, you know, I'd rather be unfamous and poor and still have my credibility than to be anything else. Like, I don't need to be famous if I don't have who I am as my core self.
Absolutely. And that's just it, that there is so much that we're going to be talking about here, about what you have to be careful for. But I don't want to interrupt your story, because you've now you've got yourself down as how you like to be an investigator. You're seeing what's happening on the television side of it. Now, how do you and television get together?
So, well, back in 2010, Linda and I filmed a sizzle reel for a potential series. They sent a camera crew up. Yep. We went to one of the locations that we investigated, and we spent, hours being interviewed, answering a lot of questions on camera.
Yeah.
And then we reenacted some of the events that actually took place at the location, because, a lot of the shows rely on the action to happen during the investigation. And as we know, most investigations are long, boring, and not always things happen. You spend a lot of time staring at a screen of watching, film or video go by. So the producers did a great job. They did a great sizzle reel, and they were shopping it around. And then we were told the big focus became antique shows like the American Pickers and pawn shows. All of a sudden, everybody wanted auctions. They wanted those, like, Storage Wars, auctions. And we had bad timing. Probably a year earlier, we would have had it. And that was a positive experience. I mean, they did a great sizzle reel.
And I think the question is worth asking, and it could be asked to me as well. So don't think I'm just just trying to pick on you about it. But you had this crew doing this sizzle reel with you. What was it about being on TV that enticed you both so much?
So we thought what we did was so different than what other groups on television were doing. Even like Ghost Hunters, they set sort of a standard in the field for a lot of people. We kind of had our own way of doing things. We're certainly open to subjective experiences, but we're also looking for that hard evidence. But we're very critical. We're very skeptical of things. We don't just, the famous, someone calls, and says, my house is haunted because, there was a Indian massacre here in 1837. And then you do the research and find out that, no, there was not a massacre there, but it's a local urban legend.
Yep.
There's so many paranormal groups that would just take that at face value and go in and investigate. And that wasn't us. We We set a very high bar for ourselves. And we thought that was the face of the paranormal people needed to see.
Yep.
It certainly wasn't fame and glory, you know?
Well, and that's just it. And I do wonder how many of us think that we could use television as a way to be like, almost like by definition of being straightforward and authentic. That's what's going to separate us out from everybody else. And I think most of us find that ultimately that's there are people above us at the networks who don't want that. They're not open to that sort of thing. At least in my experience, that was the case. So you were close in 2010. It didn't quite work. I was thinking about it actually. It's funny that you bring up American Pickers, and a couple things there that come to mind for me is, first of all, they go to these places that are massive, yet they only spend, one, at least as far as we see on television, like half a day there, and then they leave without going through the rest of it. And that always seems absolutely ridiculous to me. But something that we all have to remember when we're watching these shows, first of all, folks, paranormal TV is entertainment television. First and foremost, but secondly, also shows like Ghost Hunters and all of them. It looks like we got a lot of evidence tonight. This was shot over 2 weeks. They're just wearing the same clothes over and over and over again. And I bring that up because you bring it up about, like, it does take a great deal of time as an investigator. Sometimes you get some really good stuff, but you can't always plan on it, and there's so much that you don't get because there's so much interference when you're actually shooting a television show that you are not really anywhere by yourself anyway. You can't do it by yourself.
Right. The interference from a live investigation with the cameras and the microphones and would interfere with almost everything I can think of. And that's why when we worked with, it was called Happy Owl Media. They were going to take what we've already done and we're doing and do recreations. Because then you didn't have to worry about catching the evidence. And we were still being genuine because we weren't going to recreate anything that didn't happen. We weren't going to make things up. And it would be clearly documented that this is us recreating certain things. And so I think it addressed that problem, because really no one wants to stare at a TV for an hour and watch people walk around in the dark and have nothing happen.
And have nothing. If you're going to be, if your remit, if you will, is one of, what you see is what you get. You are not, you're it's as if you're one of our team members. You're right. You're not going to get that. Just like I'm a big believer in grounding and a big believer of like doing certain things before going on an investigation. No one wants to see that on television. They want to see it, in the house getting scared and running away and going, dude, that that's just how it works. Right. You know what, Michael?
Can I interrupt you real quick? I want to set the record straight too. The dude run thing from Eastern State Penitentiary.
Yeah.
Totally ripped off from me. Because Linda and I investigated there. We were one of the first paranormal teams to do a serious investigation before Ghost Hunters was even on TV. And, I had an experience towards the end of the night. I wandered down a cell block. I'll make it really quick with my camera. And I was by myself and I wander into a cell at the end and I hear like banging noises next to me and movement. And my first reaction was, is that you with which one of our group is with me? And I don't get an answer. And then I can feel like, someone right behind me. So I exited the cell. I thought I turned my camera off. I didn't. It let it hang on the strap and I took my light, and you could see my walk go to a quick paced walk to a run. Because it was whatever it was right behind me. I didn't say, dude, run.
Yep.
And what's funny is, or not funny, before Ghost Hunters shot their episode, and it could be a coincidence, Eastern State reached out to us and wanted to know if we could send them our experiences and evidence from our investigation. And this was years later. And then all of a sudden, Ghost Hunters comes out, and they're at Eastern State. So it could be a coincidence, but I ran first. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, at least you're comfortable enough to admit it. So that's good too. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Michael's experience working in television, including Hotel Paranormal, and any questions you have. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
We know you value buying local, especially when it comes to your magical supplies. So if you're looking for grimoires, decks, jewelry, candles, or herbs that are locally sourced, then come on down to Magus Books and Herbs. Curated for your ritual, ceremonial, spiritual, and spellwork needs, we've got all the tools to make your working extra. So make that prosperity ritual one that keeps on giving by visiting us at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis, or visit us online at magusbooks.com.
What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining me on this hot Tuesday evening. I hope everyone's staying pretty cool out there. I got someone cool with me. It's Michael J. Worden, and he is no stranger to GhostBox Radio, and it's always nice to have him on. Don't forget, folks, he has written a few books, and it's well worth your time to go and pick them up if you haven't already. The one that a lot of people have talked about that I know that went over very well was Lynched by a Mob, the 1892 lynching, Robert Lewis and Port Jervis, and also The Murder of Richard Jennings, the true story of New York's finest murder for hire. Michael talks about nothing but the most beautiful things. So, it's always positive over where Michael's at. We're also talking about working on a paranormal television show, what it's like, and some of the pitfalls to it, and also some of the rewards to it too. I got to remember that there is good things about it as well, isn't there, Michael?
Yeah, there is. And I just want to if I can take one quick moment, and I know you probably feel very similar. I have to thank probably the most supportive person in my life, my wife, Renee. I mean, the stuff she puts up with me, my crazy ideas, driving hours to go investigate someplace or overnight. She really is a saint. She entertains these things, and really everything that I am on the public face of me is really her supporting me from behind that people don't see. And I think that's for a lot of us in this field or any field, is we have good people behind us. They're behind the scenes,
And I think you have to have some of that reality when you're doing this stuff as well, especially working in in television, I think, because there, and it's not about keeping you grounded. It's so to speak. It's about having to put up with the BS. I think, and I think there's a lot of it. You ended up on programs such as what Mysteries of the Museum, and then of course Hotel Paranormal.
Yes.
I mean, at that point, you had your chance to do a television series. You did your sizzle and stuff. Did you end up getting like a agent or something to get these opportunities, or you just kind of you were you?
Yeah, we just sort of happened. I mean, in the interim between that, we had Linda and I had a production company working on a Hudson Valley UFO program with us, and I mean,
wow.
they sent multiple film crews up here to spend hours interviewing us, asking questions on camera, filming on camera some scenes and things that they would want. And it turns out at the end of the day, they really didn't want Linda or I. They wanted Linda's research, and it was going to be a vehicle for somebody else who is very big in the UFO field and has dubious credentials that he uses to promote himself. And I'm not going to name his name.
No,
but once again, it's disturbing because they wanted someone else to do the research, but ultimately wanted it to be just for this other, para celebrity.
Absolutely. And right there, Michael, it's enough to bring you back to talk about the Hudson Valley triangle, because that is so interesting. And I've had some people on before that you may have been talking about just now, but we can definitely, I think it'd be a fantastic conversation to get into. But so you had that, and that's disappointing, isn't it? I mean, that's really disappointing especially when you're putting the work into it. And that wasn't enough to be like, I'm done with that sort of television side of things.
I think it really put a lid on things as far as pursuing it.
Yeah.
I was going to mention the one negative experience in between with probably around the same time, a producer reaching out to me through my email and then eventually, making a phone call, and they were shooting a six episode series with an option that it was going to be picked up as a regular series. They would film 6 more. And then, they offered me a spot. And they wanted me to use it. I'm not going to name the equipment because some people may use it. It's my personal opinion that it's garbage. And they wanted me to use it in the episodes and really wanted me to talk it up. And I said I couldn't. And I went back and forth with them. They dangle everything in front of you. Oh, yeah. We are looking at this being a permanent series, and you would be one of the top investigators and on the show. We're talking, we'll put that in a contract. We'll talk money, we'll do this and that. And ultimately I just said, no, they wouldn't budge. The head producer called me, thought she could talk me into it. And she tried, give her credit. And she was exacerbated that I wouldn't budge. And she kept saying, I just don't understand why you won't use this equipment and say you use it to be on TV. She's like, there are paranormal investigators that would do anything to get on TV. And mine to her was, yes, you're correct. There was a lot of them. I'm not one of them.
No.
And,
why do I have a feeling that piece of equipment you're talking about is very similar to the name of this radio show?
Actually, it's not. It's actually
not. That's normally what people do. Okay.
Oh, no. It is even more bizarre.
All right. Even more.
I would be willing to give a GhostBox a try. I don't use them. Yeah. I would be willing to try it. At least that would be genuine to say, you know what? I'll give this a shot. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who don't always, and just for everybody to know, I've had some people on here like author Bobby J. Gallo, who doesn't, at the time, he didn't like it at all. And you know what, paranormal friends, we still are friends. It's okay. It's okay for people not to like the same thing as long as we can have decent conversations about it. Nancy in the comments says, regarding what you're talking about, I agree. The BS and the drama and the narcissist, me, I'm the best, and how dare you question me attitude is just watering down all that we're trying to do. And I would agree with that. And one thing I also wanted to say real fast, when you mentioned that a producer reached out to you through email, we follow each other for quite some time on social media. And guess what, folks? Michael gets people from TV shows to reach out to him, and he does not post right away. Oh, I'm talking to a producer tomorrow. Oh, this is, I'm going to get a TV show, even though it was just one email wondering about. That's the way to do it.
I've never done that ever. Never will.
No, I remember when you said that you got the gig on Hotel Paranormal, and it was just like, hey, this is something. It's like, if I'm not mistaken, it's something that is about to start like this weekend or something like that. There was,
yes.
to my knowledge, there wasn't anything that was like, even like, I signed a contract and I'm in. Well, there's also NDAs and stuff in place, but you just did it where, you know what? You'll come out eventually, and if it's real, we'll all find out about it. If not, it's just one of life's moments.
And I've had the false alarms where they reach out to you by email, they call you, they have great ideas, then you never hear from them again. That happens. I think that happens to a lot of people. If I posted every time someone called and said they wanted to do a show, I mean, I'd look like a fool. Like, well, geez, you get all these offers. How come you're not on TV?
You should have a network devoted to you at that point, right?
Yeah, like you're doing something wrong. So, yeah, and like with Hotel Paranormal, when it was ready to come out, when we had a launch date, okay, now it's time to promote it because I want people to watch it. It's done.
Yep.
It's a guarantee. It's going to be on the Travel Channel when you turn on the Travel Channel.
And generally, and maybe I'm not right with this, but I mean, when it's time to promote it, a lot of times they'll tell you how they want you to promote it. They'll have imagery, or they'll have something that is approved, and that this is all something that is orchestrated by the network. This is not something that anyone who's involved is just like, yep, today I'm going to talk about this. I mean, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you're not doing things the way that they want them to.
That's exactly right. Like they were in constant communication in the time frame between our filming and the launch date, giving us updates, projected launch dates. And then they sent out, they had press kit they sent out, and they said, okay, now we're pushing it. If you can promote it on your social media, now is a good time to start because it's out. We're releasing this information. It's starting in Canada, and then it's going to debut here in the US on this date.
Sure.
So, and that's what we did. I mean, it's their show. I was a small part of it.
Right. But a important part. You're on camera. And what do they call what you're doing? Are you just a commentator? Are you what do they say you are?
A commentator, basically, is what I look. Yeah.
And when you got the gig, well, especially Hotel Paranormal, because it's a regular gig, it's hosted by Dan Aykroyd, which I'm assuming now you're good friends with.
I wish. I wish. He just seems like such a cool guy with the paranormal stuff,
It's like he needs to be, you said at the beginning, you and I could get in a lot of trouble. How about the three of us, right?
Oh,
the three of us could just...
I think the three of us could starve to death talking about the paranormal. We wouldn't stop. We wouldn't sleep. We wouldn't eat. We wouldn't drink. We would just wither away, all three of us.
Well, and the fact his father was also hugely into it. Unbelievable. When you got the gig and people realized that you are now on television, did your friend intake like rise? Did you start getting a lot of friend requests, or did they just not really pay attention? I could see it going either way, to be honest.
I think I gained a few extra followers, maybe on Facebook. A few weird friend requests, here and there, but I never know. Sorry. I don't know if there's scams, but I don't know if you want me to mention a little bit of the process of what we did.
I would love that.
Scenes.
Thank you. I would love that.
The first season we filmed in Canada. It's a Canadian production company. My shout out to those Saloon Media. Awesome group of people. Awesome team. We drove up in a snowstorm from here. New York. I had worked the midnight shift, and my friend Linda and Bob picked me up in a snowstorm. Wow. And I slept in the back of their vehicle most of the way because I had been up all night. But they send you in advance. Once they approved, a lot of talking to people on the phone ahead of time, a lot of back and forth, and then once they settled on me and Linda and the other speakers or commentators, they fixed our dates. We had to go up to Toronto. And, they sent us in advance packets of all the locations.
Mm-hmm.
And each location, it had a, photo of the place, a summary of the history, a summary of the experiences. And we, there was like, I forget how many, 15 or 20 of them say. And we had to look them over. You didn't have to memorize them. But then basically when it was your turn in front of the camera, you spend a day sitting in a chair with lights blaring on you,
Mm-hmm.
A camera's in front of you, a projection of the background, and a producer sitting, 6 inches from your face asking questions and you answering them. And what I liked about them, there was no script. We weren't required to use certain language. We weren't required to say certain things. The words that you hear come out of my mouth, or presumably anybody else's as a commentator, was our true opinion. The only thing they would do is if you'd said something they really liked, they'd say, we like that. Can you say that again, but a little slower?
Yeah.
Can you
absolutely.
say it again? Oh, okay. Can you say it again, but pause after you say this word? And, and they're giving themselves editing room. I understand,
Yep. Yep.
So, and it's just hours of that. And of course, in between you get a little break, you look at your notes, like, okay, they're going to ask about this one. This one's a big one. And it's actually pretty interesting. You kind of feel like you're being interrogated. I liked it.
You're on the other side for once.
Like,
yeah.
This is how they feel.
Yeah.
but it was, and I like that. And the second season we filmed in New York because they had COVID. So COVID interrupted the filming. Sure. So they hired a New York City crew to film the 3 of us that were in the New York area. But it was the same setup. And the producer was on, I think the producer was on like a computer screen. It's like a FaceTime or something.
Yep.
So they were still sitting in front of you asking the questions. It was just remote. And it was interesting. And I like the fact that they did a great job on the recreations, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't speak to the veracity of all the claims. I have no way of knowing because I didn't investigate them personally.
No.
I comment on the questions they ask, but they did a great job, I think, with the recreations, the acting.
Yeah.
And I liked how they put the series together.
Well, and didn't they also have people from the location sometimes telling the story too, right?
Yes. Yeah. So they would like have the owner or maybe the guest of the hotel, those people talking about their experiences. And then they would intercut that with the reenactments, myself, Linda, or the other commentators, interjecting thoughts. And I thought they paced it well. Like, to me, they did such a great job. I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what to expect. We did not get a preview. Like, they didn't send an advance copy.
Did you record like an episode a day, or did you record the season in a day?
We recorded it over 2 days.
Or a whole season?
Yep. So I think I went in the afternoon the first day, Linda went in the morning, and then we flip-flopped.
Okay.
Wow. In fact, the studio that they filmed at, they were filming Blue's Clues, the kids show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And at the time, my son was really little and into Blue's Clues, and I went up to the host of the show. I can't remember his name, and he was at the craft services table, and I introduced myself and shook his hand, and I said, "Boy, I would have one excited toddler right now if he was here." And very nice guy, But there's just over a couple of days answering questions.
Now, for the Minnesota folks listening, Hotel Paranormal, which it's on Discovery Plus, isn't it?
I think it is. I probably on the Travel Channel online if you have access to that.
And for the Minnesota part of it, the Palmer House was one of the hotels on there, and Kelly, who is the owner, and Carrie had also been interviewed as well for that. So if you're looking for a Minnesota connection, go check that out as well. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's take our next break. When we come back, I love this conversation. This is such a fascinating one. If anyone has questions about the production process, put it in there for Michael to answer. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call. Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to have on paranormal investigator, filmmaker, television showrunner, Brandon Alvis. We're going to have him to talk about his, it's a new show. It's new in America, and it's over on Haunt TV called Haunted Discoveries, and it's available through Sling TV. Go check it out. I've been watching some today. It's a great program. It's very much in tune with what Michael and I have been talking about in terms of trying to be real doing this. And that's not easy when you're trying to do a TV show to entertain people. But I feel like Haunted Discoveries is doing a great job with that. My guest tonight is author, researcher, TV personality, podcaster, Michael J. Worden. A little bit of everything. You are maybe just multimedia. Maybe that's just the best way to talk about it. I don't know anymore what's what. I
haven't figured out what I want to be when I grow up. That's the problem. I'm still trying to figure this out.
Well, it's fun, isn't it? That you can just be like, I want to be about as creative as possible. And, and that's kind of what this is, being able to do these different things and that you're kind of touching all these different areas. It's really cool. Now, I did see a comment in here from Nancy. She says, must have a lot of callers, cannot get through. No, it's just simply we only take calls on Wednesday and Friday because I'm doing the show from home. There's nobody else. When we have Adam with us, we do them. So if you wanted to talk to Michael, not tonight, but you can reach out to him, or you can go and find his website, michaeljwarden.com, and find out everything he's up to, and then stalk him. He likes that. He enjoys
I
it.
thought I was jamming the phone lines. Now I feel like I'm let down here.
I mean, yes, you are. I guess maybe the first instinct that maybe it wasn't the case was simply that we haven't had a caller on the air. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just being silly over here. It reminds me a little bit what you're talking about doing the production stuff and talking about the Palmer House. There was an episode of the Dead Files that was shot over at the Palmer House, and this is where it can kind of get a little unfortunate in the sense that a number of my friends were called in to talk about their experiences there on camera and whatnot, and it took place, I think, over 2 days. And a friend of mine, he had been there for 2 days and was interviewed for a great period of time on camera at the place, only to find a half of a sentence of his was used in the final product. And that's just the reality of it. Did you run into that at all? I mean, even being a commentator, I mean, it seems like you never felt that anything that you were saying was out of context, right?
No, I think they were very true to our words, keeping them within the context. I don't think nothing jumps out at the right now. And I was actually quite excited because I was the first commentator shown in episode number 1. I'm the first one. And I was like, whoa, that's me on national TV. I'd already been on Mysteries at the Museum, but this was, a different program. It's a whole episode. And here I am interspersed throughout the show, and it was kind of surreal when you watch yourself on TV. I don't like watching myself. I don't like listening to myself, but
there you are.
I did. I had to watch it.
I mean, I would too. I mean that is really something. But how many seasons of Hotel Paranormal were there?
They did 2 seasons.
I thought that for some reason they did a third. They didn't do a third. So you were there the whole time. You weren't.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that was going to be my next kindly put question is, why did you get, S-canned? And
I mean, unless they did it and didn't invite us back, which is, I read some reviews from when it came out in Canada, and, this is how the paranormal field is viewed now. The critics, oh, is it great? The great comments only. It would have been nice to have seen more celebrity para investigators. Well, yeah, because they want the same people saying the same pretty much garbage.
I find that to be frustrating. I find that to be frustrating when you hit the convention circuit as well.
Right. I've never been able to get the convention circuit. I've tried.
I mean, and you're a TV star, and you're unable to do it. So
I'm a great speaker too. But
you are a good speaker, and I have tried because I consider myself a decent speaker. And it's like, well, you're not so and so. We rather have so and so. And the thing is, it's like that's, and I guess anything I say about that's just going to make me sound jealous. So perhaps I don't need to say anything more at all, because it's just how life is. I mean, I'm lucky to be able to yap for 48, 52 minutes every night. So that should be good enough anyway. But it is kind of fun, and I think there is something that you do want to have connection to the people who do follow, watch, whatever. I mean, it's not necessarily fame, but it is like feedback. It's kind of this, like, we just want to know that you're out there listening or whatever else. I don't know. What was it for you?
Yeah. I've gotten the random email or Facebook message request from somebody who I don't know. And it's an investigator somewhere with a video clip and saying, hey, I saw you on Hotel Paranormal. Great show. My team caught this video or audio. Would love your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get that, it's nice. And they seek you out, and they have some value. And it means that they also value what they're doing. And I like that. Yeah. If you go on YouTube now and look at the garbage that passes as paranormal shows, horrible. And they're all the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of the same.
They're running around with K2 meters going off with their cell phones recording.
Yeah.
Like your cell phone sets it off, but no one wants to hear that.
Can we talk a couple minutes? We have about 6 minutes left here, and hopefully I haven't dominated. The thing here also, I think I'd like, since you've lived it, you've been an experience, is the idea of how to value yourself in the situation of getting onto a show, because you said it yourself early on when the one producer was just like, don't you know how many people would just paranormal investigators just want to be on the show? I feel like because now more than ever, I think the bubble burst, so there's less shows anyway, but there are so many people who would just, if they could, they'd even do it for free. Right. People don't seem to be looking for money. They're looking for fame of some kind, and maybe what we just said, a little bit of recognition, and but they're willing to not think through. And when they decide not to do that, they devalue everybody, because as soon as one person can do it, producers can come around and say, well, they did it. And no, they're never going to not pay somebody. But in my situation with Travel Channel was probably going to pay just a horrible amount, and they believe that once I would get onto the Paracon circuit, and that's where I'd be making my money.
Right. Right.
And so I guess the question to you is, just a little bit of that, a little bit about that. You didn't devalue yourself. You were able to actually negotiate something, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's details I can't discuss, but they were more than fair. I certainly didn't make it rich, but I can't say that they took advantage of us by any means. I can't say anything bad about the people up there in Canada. But in terms of devaluing, I think that's where people are willing to sacrifice their credibility for likes, for clicks and subscribers. And, people, and, I go in these groups on Facebook and I get frustrated because, people say, well, why would they fake it? I don't know. They have, 100,000 followers on YouTube. That's why they have a reason to fake it.
Yeah.
Because they have 100,000 followers. They have to keep engaged and keep clicking. And they have to keep those algorithms working. That's why, or to exaggerate things or to make things up. And that's another reason why we've never really done anything on YouTube, because people probably be bored. And unfortunately, it's the extreme investigators that the skeptics point out, that the skeptics have a field day with, and their criticism is justified. Like, I find myself agreeing with skeptics more than I agree with most mainstream paranormal investigators. And that's an unfortunate statement about what this field's become.
It is very true. And when people show me stuff, they'll show me pictures and whatnot. And my general reaction is, I got to warn you, I don't, unless I know you, I really come right away with, I don't believe you. And I don't want to be rude to people, but at the same time, it's like, there's so many ways to fake all of this that I don't want. That it just, and sometimes I don't even want to see this stuff anymore, because I don't want to be put into the position of having to tell somebody this is not real, or you just, and it's not necessarily that they're faking it either, that they're mistaking stuff that they see on television, and they seem to get that on a photo. They think that means right away that it's some sort of paranormal anomaly as well.
Yeah, like the faces and orbs and stuff like that. And I mean, if I believe there's an afterlife, I hope I don't come back as a flat disc with a smiley face. Please. If I come back, I want to look something like this. Maybe when I was a little younger, my hair was less white. But
oh my gosh, beggars can't be choosers. You'll come back as you're going to come back. Don't start.
But
no need for demands.
You're right. And in fact, my friend Linda, my partner, avoids basically looking at people's pictures at this point because of that. Because people would show her something and she may say, well, this is that, and then they get mad at you.
Oh yeah.
And it's it's not worth it. So if people broach me as a team and they seem open, like, hey, listen, we want your opinion on this. They don't even tell me what they think it is most of the time, which leads me to believe that they're probably a little bit more aligned with how I think, because they're not saying, hey, I think we caught Abraham Lincoln given the Gettysburg Address at Gettysburg. They just ask if they can send it. They send it, and then I give them my feedback.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they agree.
reminds me real fast of Paracon I was at, and I was at one table, and a good friend of mine was at the other table, and some guy came up to me. He's like, "I have a lot of pictures. I'd love to show you the pictures." And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" And he comes out, and he has this album. I mean, it's not like an album; it's an album, and you can see it's just bursting with pictures. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, actually, that guy over there, he's our picture guy, and.
Tag, you're at no backsies.
And then I had to leave the table for some reason for an undisclosed amount of time. Oh my goodness! You know, we're already wrapping up here. We're already at the end of everything.
How's that happen? How do these shows go so quick, Greg?
They're so quick, folks. If you haven't done so, please go check out michaeljwarden.com. You're going to see the books that he has published, the podcast that we haven't even talked about the podcasts yet. He has a couple books out there available on Amazon. You can purchase them at michaeljwarden.com. And, we're going to get you on again real soon. There's so much to talk about, Michael.
Love to talk to people, so reach out to me.
Absolutely. Please. I'm glad this is a good conversation. We probably can keep going too, can't we?
We'll have to do a part 2.
We'll have to do a part 2. Absolutely. Thank you, Michael, for joining us.
Greg.
And everyone, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with Brandon Elvis about haunted discoveries. Everyone, have a good night.